And wonderful to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone around the world. Welcome to SGI PULSE, our monthly webinar series by SGI MENA. I am Ashik Thomas Joseph from GL Exhibitions, and it's my pleasure to welcome all of you today. At GL Exhibitions, we have been organizing exhibitions and conferences for the last 3 decades, creating platforms that connect industries, businesses, and decision makers. SGI MENA represents the next phase in the evolution of SGI Dubai, reflecting our broader vision to engage the industry more continuously and meaningfully throughout the year. Our show is just not for 3 days, it's for 365 days. As a part of this strategy, we are proud to introduce SGI Pulse, a buyer insight webinar series designed to help our exhibitors and potential exhibitors better understand the market, gain valuable insights, and be well prepared to maximize the opportunities around our show. As this is our inaugural session in the SGI Pulse series, we are especially pleased to begin this journey with such distinguished speakers. I would like to extend a sincere thank you to our panelists and moderator for their time, sharing their expertise, and being part of such an important session for us. More importantly, also, a special thank you for all the people that have joined us online. We hope you find this session insightful, engaging, and valuable. Now, before we move in, I would like to introduce Ben Daniel, our moderator for the webinar. Ben is a seasoned print and packaging industry professional with over 3 decades of experience, spanning from printing technologies, graphic communication, and packaging systems. As editor-in-chief of Packaging MEA, he leads one of the region's established B2B platforms covering the full value chain of print, packaging, and allied industries across Middle East and Africa. Ben, very happy to have you on board, and now I'll just hand it over to you.
Thank you, Ashik, for the wonderful introduction, and thank you for this fantastic platform that you have created, SGI Pulse. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this executive webinar session, SGI Pulse. This is the first of the series that we'll be having. And to start with, the first theme of this particular SGI Pulse that we are starting is from disruption to direction, preparing the GCC signage industry for what's next. So we all know what is really happening, and the GCC signage and graphic industry is entering a decisive phase now. So we all are going through this geopolitical developments and supply chain disruption and cost pressures, and no longer they're no longer something like a short-term challenge. So they are structural shifts and are beginning to redefine how our industry is operating and will continue to operate in the years to come. So as we look at Q2 and also Q3 of this year, so we are really seeing volatility across materials, across logistics, and also demand cycles. It is expected to continue, right? And for businesses across large format print and signage production and digital display systems, the focus must now shift from reacting to disruption. That's what we are trying to do, to getting prepared for what's next, or preparing for it, right? So this particular session brings together key stakeholders from across the signage value chain to explore how we can build agility and strengthen supply chains and create more resilience. And we should be also future ready with our business models, increasing from an uncertain time to a much more predictable, and also be prepared for what's coming. So before we begin today, let me briefly unpack what we aim to address today. At the core of today's discussion, as critical shifts, we're going to see moving from dependency to diversification in sourcing and supply chain. We're also going to hear from our panelists about how to move from speed alone to structured agility in operations. And also we're going to hear from them about how projected-based execution to long-term strategic readiness is required for the industry. So we will also explore how businesses can rethink sourcing strategies, manage cost pressures, adapt to fluctuating demand, and also continue delivering value without compromising on quality and timelines. So it is my pleasure to introduce today's panelists. To start with, we have Nita Odedra, who is the Director for Strategy for Blue Rhine Industries. So speaking of Nita, she has accomplished a lot in her career. Let me very briefly run through her profile, which I have it here. She's a strategic leader at the forefront of the region's signage, digital print, and visual communication landscape. She brings a strong focus on aligning business growth with sustainability and also driving initiatives that integrate SDG-led thinking into real-world applications across signage, professional AV, and wayfinding systems. With deep experience across the Middle East and Africa region, she works closely with brands, developers, and also with solution providers to deliver integrated visual environments where print and digital imaging and technology come together. So, welcome, Nita.
Thank you very much.
And we also have Biju Thomas, who is the CEO of Right Concept Advertising. Biju represents a segment of the regional print industry that has evolved alongside the growth of retail and events and also experiential branding in the Middle East. Operating between Dubai and India, his business focuses on digital fabric printing, digital graphics, and also display graphics and advertising production. So areas that have been increasingly growing in demand with expansions of exhibitions and in-store branding and large format visual communication. So he's got over 2 decades of entrepreneurial experience. He brings a perspective shaped by both scale and adaptability, particularly in application-driven production environment. So welcome, Biju, for this webinar.
Thank you very much.
So we also, last but not least, we have a very important person with us, Shoaib Merchant, who is the director for Champion Group, Champion Neon. So almost all of us, we know this company. It's been there for over 36 years, as I understand. I came here in the year 2000, 26 years back, but Champion was still a champion at that time. They were the known signage company, I would say. So Shoaib, he's a key strategist for the company. He's handling operation, he's handling growth, and he's overseeing complex high-value projects across retail and corporate and hospitality and government sectors. His experience reflects the scale and precision required to translate brand concepts into real-world environments, combining engineering and production and execution. He brings a practical perspective on delivering consistent, high-quality visual communication solutions in a fast-paced, project-driven market. So welcome, Shoaib, for this webinar.
Thank you very much, Ben, and the entire team at GL Exhibitions.
Thank you.
It's inaugural session, so I think it's very nice that all of us were able to join today.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you all the panelists who are here, and let's get into the discussion. Let's straight away get into the discussion. There's a bit of a okay. So Nita, if I can start with you. So we are all going through this volatility, this disruption.
Mm-hmm.
Again, how would you describe the current state of the GCC signage industry? And what are the most immediate disruptions that are shaping the business decisions today?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you for having me on the panel. So, if we just take a couple of steps back and talk about the good, it's been a buoyant market. Signage industry within the region has accelerated at such a pace that, we've incurred great growth as part of that. A lot of our peers have also. So, a part of that is due to the sheer number of mega projects in the region, the smart cities, the kind of projects that are, outside of the UAE, also in Saudi, contributing to that. So the market in terms of the developments taking place has really helped that signage industry. And I talk about signage, but I also talk about AV and, specifically digital signage. What we're finding is that what used to be a region of imitation has now changed. It is a region of innovation. We're finding the first of its kind static signage and digital signage and AV being innovated from this region. And it's such a proud moment for all of us to be part of that creative process, being able to come up with those concepts and to execute on those. So that has definitely helped us in our growth and, being able to be part of these projects. I think the maturity of the market also helps in the industry. We're looking at refurbishment projects now, right? So we've got malls like Mall of the Emirates, for example, having refurbishments. We're looking at expansions. We're looking at phase 2, phase 3s. We're looking at the maturity of developments which had stalled, whether that's, the Palm, Jebel Ali, or whether it's the World Islands, etc. So that is very exciting for us. The industry has moved from static signage to digital signage, and we've been able to be part of that digital transformation, also helping, with our growth and the growth of the industry. But, if we look a little bit more recent in the last couple of months, of course, there has been a disruption. But this isn't the first time. We've had disruption before, not so long ago, 6 years ago, with COVID. We faced similar challenges. There were supply chain issues back in 2000 to 2001. We had to adapt our businesses for those challenges, make sure we're business ready. So I feel that we're much better equipped with these disruptions to supply chain and operational efficiency.
Brilliant. Thank you. Biju, if I may also ask you the same question, obviously your forte is a little different than what Nita's is, but the question remains the same. So from a GCC signage standpoint, what are the immediate disruptions that are shaping the business according to you?
Yeah, being in a unique business on digital printing on fabric, our growth was phenomenal as the market was improving every day till the March starting. So we were actually being, it was actually an out of the blue like strike, which actually nobody expected, which everybody agrees. So the disruption was, if I put it as on the digital fabric printing side, the disruption was immediate and very severe, because our business runs like an order is executed in hardly a day or maximum 3 or 4 days. So the disruption was immediate, and we did not have any projects as such. We never have any projects as such which is running for months or weeks. So the disruption was immediate, and we in March were able to do hardly around 10% of our total business in March. But luckily, of course, this is for a future question, but the later question. But luckily, the sheikhs of the rulers of UAE has come up with the Flag Day kind of thing for this period. And this month we have recovered very, very much. So approximately in terms of business, we have done more than 50% of our regular business in April itself, and April is not over. And hopefully going forward, we are seeing the end of the war to an extent. So let us hope the business will come back.
Okay, thank you, Biju. That was a blessing in disguise for you, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
So that was good. That was good to hear. Good to hear that you could consolidate and you could also grow your business during this time after that shift, we had during March. Okay, Shoaib, similar question to you. Your take on the immediate disruptions, please.
Right. So first of all, I think I would agree with Nita that overall the industry has been doing really well in the last at least 5 years or so, with all the development for infrastructure projects in the UAE, in Saudi Arabia, and GCC in general. The Vision 2030 and all of those things. So all the key players in the industry have been doing their level best in terms of scaling up due to the demand. But I think it's also the good projects that the industry or the players in the industry have done, which actually helps all of us, because that has raised the bar of the industry in terms of innovation. Like, Nita also said that people around the world are actually looking at the GCC, and in particular, I think the UAE, And we're blessed to operate from here. A lot of us call this our home, and that's why we are all so sentimental and patriotic. And I have my UAE flag as well here, which I'm not really wearing right now, but we do all that stuff because we believe in this place. And we have faced this challenge in the last month and a half in terms of supply chain disruptions, in terms of projects being put on hold, or clients saying things like, we want to go ahead, we have the budget, but we're going to wait and see how the market responds, and then we will let you know. So depending on the clients and depending on what industry they're in, some of us have been impacted in really bad ways, but then some of us have been okay. In particularly at Champion, we've been, I think, blessed so far. We've not really felt a major hit, and there's two reasons for that. One is the projects that we were working on prior to this situation that happened, and they seemed, they were a bit long-term in terms of the duration. Those are ongoing projects and those are prior commitments, right? So you have to honor those commitments regardless of what the situation is like. So the client wants you to deliver as per the milestones set for the project. So that's ongoing. The retail side of the business, in terms of signage, of course, your shopfront signage or your showroom signage or branding jobs, which have a shorter cycle in terms of production execution, those have been impacted in a way where, again, clients are not saying we're not going to do it, but we want to do it, and can you offer us alternative solutions? So we kind of have to go back to the whole raw material and concept creation phase and see what sort of alternatives can we offer to them. A recent example is one of our real estate development clients. They wanted to go ahead and make their whole experience center completely digitized. So we had proposed massive, digital interactive screens for their space. The minute this thing happened and they wanted to open up, they said, you know what, we cannot delay our opening, but we can delay our plans in terms of the screen. So how about an alternative? And we didn't have a choice, but we had to do a simple fabric printed light box for them in the same space. So you can imagine how the scope of, like a 6-figure value solution came down to like literally not a 4-figure value, but like, a 5-figure value. But it's huge, right? So it does impact your revenue. But at the end of the day, you have to be with your clients in this situation. You cannot say no to them. And I think that's the way everyone has to be right now until the situation settles down. Focus on your existing clients, existing relationships, and move ahead. And we all hope, we have confidence in our leadership, in our vision, that things will get better and we all can emerge stronger than before.
Sure. Thank you. I think absolutely. I agree with all of your thoughts and your insights about this very important point about the disruption that we are all going through. So dwelling on the same disruption point when it comes to navigating the market disruption from a response standpoint, business response standpoint during this uncertainty, right? You all have dwelled on that. You already touched this point with your answers already, but let me go a little more deep, specifically within your own companies. For example, Nita, let me start with you. Amid ongoing volatility across materials, especially raw materials, we're talking about raw materials, we're talking about logistics, and also the demand. You kind of touched all these points in the previous question, but what key strategic shifts is Blue Rhine making to move from reactive operations to more resilient and forward planning approach? I know you're doing that already. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, as I commented earlier, I think COVID really helped us in putting in place our business continuity plans and risk mitigation. But we've been going through a digital transformation process over the last 8 years. So it was already in place before COVID and it's only strengthened since then. So what that allows us to have is really good visibility throughout the organization on not only pipeline, but materials. We have an excellent ERP sourcing. So we have really good processes in place, visibility to be able to make fast, data-driven decisions, right? So it's one thing you kind of thinking something's happening and then actually looking at the data. to be able to make fast decisions. That's one thing. The second thing is, yes, we've got disruption when it comes to materials coming in through shipments. Absolutely, anything by sea is disrupted for everyone. The signage industry and our materials sometimes are not priority, coming in. So we do have materials stuck. I think signage is a priority, very important, but we do have a lot of materials stuck there. Metals have gone up drastically, so we have, and let's be honest here, we've got work in progress. We've got contracts that we've signed last year. We have to deliver them now, and the cost of materials have come up. So we're really looking at our bottom line being hit big time, but being able to have visibility throughout the organization, and that through the digital platforms that we have, allows us to be able to mitigate some risk on that at least. So those are the biggest risks that we have. Also the validity of quotes. So, we're not keeping our quotes valid for 14 days, 28 days like we had before. We have to shorten that. For RFPs that are already open, having to go back and ask if we can, rebid on these because, we had submitted over a month ago, and, the pricing is all very different now. So those are all the little kind of like changes that we're doing. But I think it all comes back down to be able to be agile and to make fast decisions, data-driven decisions, and having processes in place before something like a war happens to be able to reduce that risk. And supply chain is one of those that, with globalization, we have we've kind of like broadened that reach, and it's now impacting us in terms of that supply chain. There were lots of perks to it, but it's just kind of brought back to us that we really do have to have local partners. We need to have a strong local supply chain.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you on that. Biju, dwelling on the same point, you specialize more on exhibitions and events, obviously retail branding like the other two, both Shoaib and Nita as well. How has this impacted your production planning? I mean, I'm sure that your production, you gave us a little bit of insight about March and how April was a blessing in disguise. That's fine. But when it comes to capacity utilization as of now, let's say the fabric part, we can keep that on one side because that was a blessing in disguise, like I said. Overall business, how is it going and how is it impacting, and how are you planning your production?
Yeah, to be on the production side, the logistics or the stock portion of it, since I was in a very unique industry as such, there were no local suppliers from the time when I started this particular business in 2005. So we had to go all around the world looking for materials, which was basically it is the fabrics, which is digitally coated fabrics, which was available during those times only in Germany and Europe. Then now it has moved, the whole supply chain has moved to China almost. So because of the time it takes for the sea shipment to reach, we normally keep approximately 3 to 4 months of stocks for us, our usage, not to sell anywhere, just for our own consumption. So luckily for me, in March, we got one shipment. So I am fully stocked if the business improves in the next coming months. So I don't have any issues as such. Immediate issues is not there at all. But coming to the industry as such, the disruption which has happened, unless and until the event industry and the tourism industry picks up, we will be having a very tough time in moving upward the business to increase. So it depends a lot on how the government, of course, the government of UAE will definitely do the utmost possible things to improve the business. Which is one of the ideas which they implemented was the flag day. But similarly, they might come up even during the summer, because summer is normally a very lean period for us. The season starts actually from September, going up to April, May. So the summer is coming up, but I think this time the government will bring in some new ideas by which the event industry and the tourists will be back in Dubai. So I am very much optimistic that the future is going to be bright for Dubai, because this is not the first time Dubaians has seen the downfall. Everybody says it is a glass, it is made of a glass. Glass, it will break anytime. This we have been hearing for the past 25 years. So it has never broken. It has definitely taken a small downturn, but it has bounced back much faster. So this
Well
is my
said,
take
well
on it.
said, Biju. Thank you very much. I think you're well said. And I like the point that you mentioned that you are able to stock for 3 to 4 months. That's a fantastic
Yes.
thing that you're doing, the rolling estimate. I think that's one good lesson that all of
Which,
us can take.
yeah,
I'm sure
which
that our
again maybe depending upon the future demands. Because normally we put an order, say like 45 days to 50 days, the material comes to Dubai. But
Mhm.
I think I'll have to plan much faster or earlier now.
Sounds good. Yeah. Interesting. Shoaib, let me come to you about Champion's long-standing market presence. You're in the market for a long time now, right? How have you navigated this recent disruption? I'm sure that you're well prepared for all such kind of surprises, unpleasant surprises, right? What does this have to do with your business and your approach for today and in the years to come, days to come rather?
Right. So the first thing is, I mean, being part of a legacy sort of a business where we've been operating for about 36 years now, and we've had the privilege of having our founder and chairman's experience around us, that dates back to like mid 70s. So all these cycles of disruption have been seen and felt live in person. And obviously that experience is something which is a blessing for us, that we have always been taken a very cautious approach when it comes to planning your resources, regardless of how the market is. And we've always kept these sort of contingencies in place where, regardless of what happens to the market, your core issues within the company should not be impacted. So one particular example is obviously the cash flows or the liquidity that we manage at Champion. That's very, very important for us, regardless of how the market is doing now. We have not, and we don't intend to change any of that in terms of payments. So obviously, everyone needs to be paid on time. All the suppliers need to be paid on time. All the staff, all your teams, everyone needs to. So the whole system needs to run the way it is, because for us, it's more about the well-being aspect of everyone. And we believe that during these times of uncertainty, it's not so much about the business, right? It's not so much about whether your client is placing an order with you, whether the client is not. It's about the well-being for everyone. And I think that's something which has helped us in the last month and a half or two, where when this stuff started off, obviously, in terms of supply, by the way, I wanted to touch on that as well. Like how Biju said that they normally keep stock for about 3 to 4 months. We actually, for the metals, the minute this whole disruption situation started off, we stocked up for the entire year. So looking at our past purchase history of, let's say, 2024, 2025, we saw that, okay, we need X amount of metal sheets, stainless steel, aluminum, brass, these kind of square tubes. So on average, this is the kind of material that was used. And we just exit by 4. So that gave us an insight, okay, we need about this much for 1 year. And we just went ahead and purchased locally because, of course, the sea shipping, air shipping, everything was impacted. So obviously not with all the materials, but we normally keep stock for all the regular materials. And then this whole situation forced us to act faster, block our cash flow, and pick up all the metals that we normally use at least for a year. So we're good till about end of 26 or even Q1 2027, hopefully, where we're trying not to increase the prices for any of our clients. And I know a lot of people in our industry, or a lot of people from the not from the industry as well, will say that, what are you doing? But it's working well for us to maintain our relationships with the clients that have stood by us for the last 36 years. And that's one way for us to sort of manage this disruption, where the easiest way for any manufacturer is to tell the client, oh, sorry, we quoted you we can't do this at this price anymore because the raw materials prices have gone up and this and that. But of course, there's a lot of companies who are willing to take that hit in terms of these margins, but to protect your client and to make sure that they are satisfied, even if their business is not there today, you hope and pray that things will get better in terms of the market situation and everyone will emerge stronger. There's just one more thing that I wanted to share. Recently, I've attended a few of these events from all the chambers and business councils, and there's a lot of positive plans in place, as what Biju was also saying, that there's going to be some events or some sort of initiatives coming up, especially for boosting tourism and the real estate sector, because these two are very important for the UAE, and of course they're very important for us as well, who are in the space of branding. So fingers crossed, but good things coming up soon, inshallah, and we look forward to those initiatives so that everyone can start utilizing their stocks and resources in much more I wouldn't say 100% capacity, but at least we get back to 80 to 90% capacity. So hopefully those things are sorting out soon.
Yeah. And just to add to that, there's still tenders going out, there's RFPs going out. So even like a week in, even before the ceasefire, we've still got these big the mega projects and some really exciting work in the pipeline, which is going ahead for full steam ahead. I'm speaking to contractors and consultants. They're telling us the same. They're like, nope, the work hasn't stopped. It's still going ahead. Exactly. Maybe a little disruption in actual commitment. When does that commitment take place? But all the work around it is still continuing as a normal. I'm sure, all the other panelists will kind of agree that the momentum is still 100%. There.
I agree.
Again, going back to the strong leadership, at least situations like this are not politicized in leadership perspective here. We have consistent leadership, who have a long-term vision. And as you said, they're putting things in place, whether it's going to be events, but also I feel like the support will be there afterwards to, make sure that these infrastructure projects continue. There will be a mandate going out to make sure that, the expansions happen, the refurbs continue, that, the image has to stay, right, of GCC, and all the hard work we've put in.
Absolutely. Fully agree.
Billion dirham stimulus was already launched for the service industry. So hopefully it's going to come soon for manufacturers as well. And by the way, there was an event in Abu Dhabi that said we all need to look for local supply chains. So that goes back to Nita's point as well, that in times like these, it's actually in everyone's best interest to try and source locally, because the government is really supporting the manufacturing industry across the UAE, whether it's Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and whatnot. And they want people to start investing in infrastructure to manufacture raw materials and finished goods. So I think that helps everyone, right? So go local and stop or reduce imports.
Yeah. And we're local, so there's going to be an upside, hopefully,
Absolutely.
for us.
I mean, we're all Emirati, right? We all are Emirati in this city.
In this phase, we have to absolutely, be so united. And I fully agree with the leadership of the nation. As Nita was mentioning, there's consistency. They're not really making it more political. They are really looking at the country and the growth of the country. And that's
very positive and very confident approach to the whole situation.
So let me dwell on this.
We are very focused on that. We are very focused on building the country rather than having any politics.
Exactly. Absolutely. There's no distraction from the focus.
Yeah, absolutely. Just dwelling on the same point, Shoaib, you mentioned a very important point, local sourcing, So that's very important, and the government is also pushing for that. Obviously, it comes with a little bit of baggage tied to it when you're sourcing local. It might be a little more expensive than what you buy in bulk from outside. And how are you really managing? I'll start with you, Shoaib. From your company, when it comes to your design and fabrication and branding, and overall the ecosystem of signage industry and the services that you provide. Obviously, the costs might have definitely gone up compared to what it was before February. So how are you managing cost in this situation when it comes to sourcing locally and supplying to customers? Are you retaining your cost? Are you passing on your cost to your customer? So how does it work? Let's understand that.
Well, to start off with, so far we have not passed on any of the incremental costs to the client. Like I said, we made this intent when the situation got a bit tensed up. I think it was 28th of Feb or 29th of Feb when I was actually in the office sitting with one of some of my sales team, and we were having a discussion on project, and then all of a sudden one of my team members, he got a message on his phone about the first thing that happened, and I think it was 10 o'clock or 10:30, and all of a sudden it was actually like everyone just got up their seats. They're like, this something like this has never happened here, and like everything is supposed to be so safe. So from that time onwards, we looked at the kind of things or the kind of strategies that we had implemented in the previous situations like COVID-19, or even dated back to 2008 when you had that sort of global crisis where the entire real estate industry was very, very badly affected in the UAE. So something that we intended not to do is to increase the cost. So yes, we are taking a hit. Now, again, it depends on everyone's capacity, if that's the right word, that how much or threshold. What's your threshold, or how long can you manage to take that sort of hit? Of course, local procurement we already did with the materials that we could do, and we did that like on the first week of March itself. We didn't really wait for the raw material prices to start increasing because we saw that coming, and because we manage our cash flows and liquidity really well, we stocked up on the raw materials that we know we're going to use at least for a year. So that's one thing we did to sort of mitigate the risk of the locally available resources or raw materials. In terms of imports, again, we've not really imported anything immediately because whatever we had in stock, we're currently, 3 to 4 months is readily available. But what happens if the market does not settle even up until the next 6 months? That's going to be a question mark. But if things do settle within the next, hopefully like 3 months or so, I think it should be a sweet spot for a lot of us here where, yes, we're taking a hit in certain ways, but we will be able to emerge and bounce back stronger with everything opening, especially the tourism industry, real estate. By the way, real estate as well. I mean, there's a lot of projects in the industry. It's just that temporary pause where it's not like the developers are not going to build or they're not going to. All the construction which is ongoing, nothing has stopped. You look at guys working day in, day night, double shift. Contractors are really busy, especially in the real estate industry because we work very closely with them. Nothing has impacted for them in terms of the workflow because they have to manage their commitments, the handovers, the deliveries, and everything. But we just have to go with the flow.
Thank you, Shoaib. I think it's very important for Biju to give your thoughts on your specialty, which is on fabric-based and also some of the lightweight display solutions that you're, and I think most of this material is being imported. Correct me if I'm wrong, but for what I understand, most of this material that you're using is sourced from outside. So what's your plan? What's the trade-off that you have with your customers willing to accept the extra price when it comes to your cost, and what is your plan B for sourcing it locally, if I may ask you?
See, even today, there are a lot of structures involved in our production, like aluminum structures, metal structures, and other things. So the aluminum structures, actually, we buy the pipes and the profiles, and we do the manufacturing in-house, like the bending, building, all these things. So that has already been a local purchase from earlier on. The only thing which I have a similar company of what Shoaib and Nita has, which is not as big as your companies, but to an extent it's called UNIDET, I see. So there we have the same problem. There also we are stocked, not as 1 year for you, like Shoaib told. I have been stocked up to say like 2 months, 3 months of materials. So
my question is more towards your fabric material. Are you sourcing that also locally?
No, that is
No,
very
I
less.
think
Local,
Yeah.
because the
so far
fabric
there's
is,
no fabric manufacturers here, right? So
Exactly.
far.
Yeah.
yeah, it is all imported.
Yeah,
Whether I am buying locally also, it is being imported by them.
correct.
So
And is it expensive for you now to procure, to produce, and to deliver? And how are you handling this trade-off?
Uh, definitely, as of now, we are not increased in this particular offer which has come to the market. We are not increased the prices, but as it goes forward, definitely, I foresee a 15 to 20%
May have to
increase in
compare it.
prices. 15 to
Right.
20% is should be a must unless the prices go back pre-February
Yeah.
price.
Okay, thank you. Nita, same question to you. I know you're in both areas. I know you're also in your company handles both procurement and supply and also services. So how are you handling this crucial, important challenge that we all are going through?
Going back to what Shoaib said earlier, we've been doing this for 20 years. They've been doing this for over 35. We have long-standing relationships with our partners. We were here 10 years ago, 20 years ago. We'll still be here in another 10, 20 years. And it's very much about supporting our customers, our partners in this time. Yes, I think everyone understands that there are sensitivities, whether it's going to be around payment terms, pricing. We're trying to keep it as lean as possible. When it comes to our pipeline, and we have a very healthy pipeline, going back to where I started, that it was a buoyant market. There's a lot of work in the pipeline that is still being committed to by ourselves and our customers. Nothing has stalled on that front. We've gone back to all of our large projects and they're still, happening. And we have to honor the pricing, that the pricing is what we're contracted with, and we're of course going to deliver that. We're looking forward to delivering these projects and seeing what happens over the next 6 months. Even if things settle in the next within the next month, there's a ripple effect. We're still going to be impacted till the end of this year. So, I think all of us here can say that the impact will be throughout
For sure.
2026.
We have
when we
to
look
be prepared.
Exactly. So being prepared in that way, of course, like Shoaib said, we've also, as soon as the turbulence started, we also tried to procure as much as we could to have stock. But we will have issues eventually when it comes to steel and aluminium. That will happen. But we'll face it like we have with everything else.
I think I think Nita and I, we probably procured a lot of local materials. So now the local suppliers they don't have anything left. So obviously their new shipments which are coming in, the prices have already increased. Yes, for sure. There's at least a 30 to 40% increase in certain
minimum 30.
square tube, aluminum tubes, pipes, and stuff like that. So yeah.
So
Exactly.
30 to 40% hike in material means at least 15% to 20% increase for the end customer has to be there,
Yeah.
which is
So for new ongoing quotes in the larger
Sorry,
project,
I think the line is.
Yeah, for new quotations and RFPs, of course, the pricing will have to be, the contracts will also have to be adjusted, right? That maybe we'll look at contracts where on the larger ones, it's based on, market price at the time plus X amount. But for the ones that we've already committed to, we honor the pricing.
Sure. I have a question for all three of you. Something which came as you're discussing this important point came up in my mind. Now you see all these retail stores, they are a bit specific when it comes to carbon footprint, sustainability, closing the loop and recycling and all of that, which is going on for a while. And some of them have implemented, including Carrefour, the big ones like Spinneys and Carrefour. They're all implementing different solutions when it comes to display, when it comes to shelves that are there through honeycomb corrugated board kind of a thing. So all these things are happening as we speak. But at a time like this, is sustainability relevant? Because I know that it comes with a price and it's expensive compared to the regular conventional structures and formats that you produce. So what do you think? Do you think people, buyers, your customers, your buyers will still stick to sustainable solutions? Or do you think they'll make a compromise to meet the cost, or rather till such time the dust settles down?
I can answer that, I believe.
Okay.
because
Right.
sustainability, when it comes to, it is not cheaper than the regular materials.
Correct.
For example, my fabrics are much costlier than a flex banner. But if I add, I can say that a polyester banner is much more environmental friendly than a flex banner. So earlier I used to say go fabric, go green. That was my slogan. But nowadays I don't sell sustainability as the material, but because fabric has a lot of other advantages whereby you can very easily fix it up and things like that. For example, a total event can be done in 3 hours or 4 hours, and we don't need to send multiple trucks to the site. Rather than one truck will carry everything because the fabric is folded, the structures are folded. So at the site, we don't need much time to install and things like that. So fabric is one way of doing that. Similarly, as you told, Amazon in Jebel Ali, I think we have done the interiors, the signages in corrugated sheet. So
Yeah.
that was a good project. But the thing is, that was with the other company, the you and I advertising. So there, Amazon did it because of carbon footprint and things like that. But the cost wise, yes, that project was little cheaper than the regular one. But now, how many people will do that in future because of the cost factor and things like that? It's something which we have to see.
Right. Nita, your take on this?
Yeah, look, it's a nice to have rather than a need to have at times like this. Already, they're nice little luxuries that they put in tenders and RFPs, that it has to be compliant with XYZ for sustainability and for energy consumption and stuff. But it comes at a price, it comes at a cost. And then when they're trying to shave that pricing down, a lot of the time they were already being kind of de-scoped or, re-scoped for that. I think it will come back. I think, again, the region does have aggressive goals when it comes to sustainability, energy consumption, and we will revisit that. For the short term, perhaps it won't be necessary. Let's see.
Yeah, okay. I agree with that. Short term, probably it's not necessary. Shoaib, what do you think?
Sorry, can you just repeat that? The line was a bit.
Yeah, well, the question is now, given the current challenges that we are going through, how important is sustainability for brands? Do you think they are going to still dwell on sustainable solutions like POS stands and all these, which is coming up with honeycomb corrugated structures and some other structures and formats which are sustainable, but obviously it's a little more expensive? Do you think your buyers, your customers would really look at sustainable solutions to carry on with that with extra price, or would they compromise to go back to non-sustainable solutions?
I think that's a very interesting question because it depends. I mean, there's not every buyer or every client is not really looking for sustainable solutions. And especially the kind of brands or the kind of retailers that are working more on or rather they're investing more in digital solutions, right? I mean, when you look at the retail storefront today, not like how it used to be back in, let's say, early 2000s, where you used to do just static signage. You used to have the facade sign, you had the service signs internally, and just some sort of prints. All of that has now changed, and it's usually like a 50-50 or a 40-60 ratio when you do static and digital interactive signage. So sustainability, I think, is good for certain brands that are tied into sustainability and they want to pay that premium. But in a time like this, I would probably think that the material suppliers who might be listening to us, bring down your prices for all your sustainable products so that people can start using it. But manufacturers or the brands would not really want to spend too much right now. They'd rather cut their costs and use their budgets elsewhere because everyone is hit in terms of sales revenue, right? You talk to any of the retailers, any of the major malls, retailers have been having a tough time as well in the last month and a half or two, just like all the other industries. We've got our automotive clients, they're stocked up on cars. They used to sell a lot of their vehicles during Ramadan. That promotion didn't really work out well because obviously things like vehicles or like properties, these are all high ticket value items, right? So these are the first ones that a buyer or a customer would fold back on these expenses in times of uncertainty rather. So I think to answer your question in a nutshell, we can, as printers or manufacturers, we can offer sustainable solutions only if they make sense financially, if the prices come down. And why not, right? I mean, if they have stock, they probably would like to sell it off rather than hold on to that stock.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Let's dwell on another very important point. We're coming to the end of this series, but I have a couple of quick questions for all three of you. Let's dwell on this point which Shoaib just mentioned about this 50-50 or 60-40 balance that we are doing. We're complementing digital and print, static or let's say dynamic that you mentioned. So what's the trend now? I know that there's a lot happened from let's say early 2000s till now. You know, in the early 2000s, people were talking digital and it was let's say 90% print, and now it's kind of balancing, or let's coming up to a kind of a balance. I want to hear from you all, and also the audience would like to know, because you know it's very important to see where the future is. With these challenging times, will digital help mitigate some of the challenges that people are facing when it comes to raw materials? And this digital signage going to replace some of the challenges? I mean, rather be a solution for the challenges that we are facing, or do you think both of them will coexist? Let me hear from all three of you. Your take.
Who's first?
Nita, will start. Yeah.
So we've been seeing the transition over a number of years, you know, especially the last like 12, 13 years. It started with things like the menu boards going from, you know, flex to or posters to digital LCD screens, and now LED screens and all types of LED screens. So that transition's been happening slowly. I think we're looking more towards experiential AV. We're looking more towards having memorable experiences in store, not just a digital storefront or screen inside. How do you make it sticky? And by sticky, I mean, like, you know, that engagement, how will people remember it afterwards? How do we make it interactive? So that's where we're seeing the shift in the most recent time, and where I see the direction of digital, especially in industries like retail, showrooms, experience centers taking.
Right. Biju, your take?
Yeah, my thing is, I would say that, see, I have been to SGI exhibitions twice during my fabric printing experience. One was in 2006 because nobody knew about fabric printing in the market. So I participated in 2006, and I think again once more in 2009 I have participated. And I normally will has almost every 2 years I participate, visit FESPA, Chinese exhibitions, all those things. So my answer is not actually to the viewers. My answer will be an advice to GL exhibitions, Ashik, that if you look at how SGI had gone from being fully fledged, the full of trade center was full of SGI, down to maybe one or two halls. The industry has not much innovations. That is the print industry. It doesn't have much innovations. So as an exhibitor, if you go to, I think the place in China is called Shenzhen, where the digital screen exhibition happens, and go and bring in much more digital screen people and the related industries. As Nita was always telling about the multi partners required for that industry to grow, so that the local industry can actually move from print to digital. So that will be my take on it.
And very well said, Biju, because again, as from SGI MENA, that's the reason why we have done this change. That's what we want to do, is listen to, you know, what's been happening in our market, take input from from people like leaders such as yourself, so that, you know, we can implement this going ahead. You know, we see a lot of potential in our show. We see that we can take it to greater heights as well, you know, and that's what we want to do. Is that's why I think everyone knows that we've implemented a section called Smart Tech as a part of our profile as well, you know, where we're trying to understand, trying to focus on these technologies so that we can have a better show moving forward.
you very much. I think that's a very important point.
Would you, Ashik,
Yeah,
would
go
you
ahead.
like any of us to exhibit?
Possibly we can discuss that off camera. Sure.
Definitely.
Shoaib, I think your thoughts are very important on this point as well, because I see so many of the digital signage, and of course also Nita's company and also Biju, but I think you guys have been there for a long time now. You'll be able to give a much more better insight looking at the transition that happened way back 30 years back till now. There's a lot of things which have happened from print to digital, the transition. What's your take and
Right.
where
Right.
are we going now?
So just to go back to the late 80s, obviously we've seen that time where we started off as a neon sign manufacturer, designing and manufacturing hand molded glass tube neon signs, to what we see today in the industry where neon or actual neon does not even exist. We have still maintained our neon manufacturing plant because obviously it's not like we use it, but we've just preserved it because that's where it all started off. But I think over the last 35, 36 years, we have had to listen to our clients, and based on the demands, we had to evolve from a pure signage manufacturer to a complete solution provider in visual communication. So I think the future is definitely digital, but that does not mean it's going to replace static signage or soft signage, printed signage completely. But in areas like retail, and of course, I think both Nita and Biju would agree to this, especially with brands who have the budgets in place, they don't mind investing heavily in digital interactive solutions and not so much on static signage. So it all depends on the type of client base that you're dealing with. For us, it's a broad spectrum, right? I mean, we work with all the industries, so we're more like, we're a strong advocate in static signage to the audience who needs it. And we're a strong advocate for digital signage to the audience who needs it. And we always have this healthy debate within our group because Champion Neon is the older company, and that's all about static signage. So, we always try to give more preference to that. But I mean, the industry is changing, so we all need to be aware of the fact that if you don't adopt, or if your clients do not adopt digital signage, then you're out of the game. So you have to have a good balance of, and again, I mean, I would like to come back to Biju's point as well. It's very good advice for SGI to push and promote digital signage more and more. Not to say that, the guys who are selling print machines should not exhibit. Of course, that's equally important. But there needs to be a much larger presence for digital solutions in a show like SGI, where all the industry benefits. And again, that goes back to my first point, when the webinar started, that any one of us that's able to pull through a good project in the industry, it helps everyone because you're raising the bar of the industry, and client expectations, they also evolve looking at. So you set a benchmark, and then another client would prefer beating that benchmark. And then another client would come and say, no, I want to do something better than that. So when all of us together, we do good work, it actually helps the industry grow, or rather grow faster. And we need that support from guys like SGI, where you bring the material supplier industry together, where supply manufacturers or solution providers can benefit. So I think you cannot ignore digital signage at all. It's there to stay in the long run, for sure.
Wonderful, wonderful. I fully agree with you on that, and I think we all can agree on that point on digital. And with AI coming, I think it's going to get
absolutely. Yeah. So the applications will keep getting more and more interesting.
Absolutely.
Interactive, immersive experiences, and all of that kind of fancy stuff, which I think Nita can talk later on if you need to.
Yeah, that's a whole nother webinar, I think. But
that's another topic. Yeah, that's another topic altogether.
The interactivity, the content, experiential side is very interesting, but that's very different to today's topic. It's
you should make her maybe the moderator for one of those topics. I think she would enjoy that.
Yeah, I'll enjoy it with the vendors, push them a little.
Exactly.
I think, but I love what you said. I think if one of us does well, we all do well. There's enough in the pie for all of us.
Exactly.
And as you said, if we keep striving for, just innovation and doing the best work, it's going to pull the entire market up.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for everyone, and based on your scale and your expertise, there's a lot of opportunities for everyone. So I'm not saying there's no competition. Of course, that goes hand in hand, but opportunities are there and competition is there. But you need to know where you
when you're talking about innovations, those people who have gone to China will understand that what we have in Dubai is nothing compared to what there is in China. So if you can get those kind of technologies in here to Dubai, and I think the whole market will just uh, wholeheartedly receive it with no
But
issue.
I agree with you. Absolutely, you're right. But I mean, this morning I came back to Dubai airport, and the minute you enter Dubai or Abu Dhabi, or anywhere within the GCC, you get that feeling that the whole world is actually looking at what we're doing here. So yes, you're right, technology is there, but I think the application and the show and tell is actually in our region here. So we're blessed. We're blessed to be here. People look up to us. When I meet people abroad, they're like, "Oh my God, you've come from Dubai." So it's a privilege to be like a Dubai kid.
Fully agree with you, for Shoaib and also Biju. I think both of you have your own thoughts. When it comes to technology, China has matured. There are a lot of
Absolutely.
but application is the key here, as Shoaib said, like, horses for courses kind of a thing, where the demand is required, demand should be there, and the supply is all meeting the demand, supply is meeting the demand, and based on that, we can apply that, and that's what is happening. For a population of 10 million people, and what this country has done is phenomenal. If you go to
Absolutely.
one of these key roads of Sheikh Zayed Road, when I'm driving, I'm sorry to say this, but it's not in a negative way, but I'm so fascinated on one side, and I'm so distracted to see so much of colorful digital signage all around. That's
Hope you
so
didn't make an
fantastic.
accident. Hope you didn't make
And
an
what
accident.
about Burj Khalifa? I don't know who's done Burj Khalifa signage. See, Nita will know better, but that is something which always.
That's another topic.
Yeah, we'll speak about that later. These are all the fantastic things which Dubai is doing in its own way. Can you imagine Burj Khalifa being lit with this LED screens and promoting it and branding it and making it more nationalized and all of that? That's really fantastic. And I think Dubai is doing it in its own way. Biju is right that there are technologies, and here Shoaib is right in saying that application of the technology. I think both should merge, and it's happening. Dubai is happening, and I fully can agree with all of you that digital is growing, and if not completely replaced, definitely is going to take a huge share of the print static market. So with that, I just want to ask one final question to all three of you. Very important for the audience. We have a wonderful audience. Thank you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us. But this is a very important question. I think let's hear from the three of them. As a closing thought, let's start with Nita. What is one practical step or that you could suggest for the GCC signage industry? What should they do to take to better prepare themselves for the next 1 year, 12 months, or 18 months? We've gone through this uncertainty, but then there's a lot of hope which is building up. War is going to end soon for sure. So, one practical tip that you can give the signage industry, Nita?
So advice I would give is just have a look at your processes. Spend a lot of time on those processes, try and digitize them, try and make yourself operationally efficient through the use and adoption of digital technology. And it will have a positive impact. It takes effort. You have to have somebody internally to drive that. It's not something that happens overnight. It has to come from a vision, from leadership. So leadership really have to buy into that. That will positively impact everyone in terms of the resilience and to be able to make data-driven decisions and to be able to have that agility.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Biju, your take, please.
Exactly what Nita tell. I would like to elaborate it a little more. When you implement an ERP in a company, normally it is hardly, if 100 companies are doing it, 20% actually follows it, actually does it, because there is a lot of resistance from moving from your system, whatever a manual system or whatever it is, from there to move to an ERP, you have to push, and that push has to come from either from the top management or somebody should be there behind them sitting and doing it. And adding to that, I would suggest that we have implemented it after COVID. That is, majority of the customers, of course, we give the excellent service more than what the customer asks for, but we insist on kind of a cash sales. We incentivize the cash sales, but we try and collect cash money in advance or immediately on the completion of the project,
Right.
so that our companies, I have run two companies here, both of them are cash rich. We don't have any loans. So I'm very happy to say that even though some customers walk away because there is no credit, I am in peace of mind. I can sleep in the night.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the wonderful.
Wow,
Shoaib, what's your take?
that's that's very interesting what Biju just said. I wasn't aware of that, but again, that's a very good thought and a good strategy. I think a lot of people in our industry cannot do that, but if you're able to pull through, that's excellent. Like
No, there are some
cash,
people who walk away, but still,
and it's hard to leave a client. I mean, the thing that hurts us most in the industry is when you work so hard on any lead or any opportunity, and you are like at the verge of pinning that project, and then the next thing you find out is you lost it. That's usually that's very heartbreaking. But I would just like to close off this question by saying that I think the client centric approach rather than being market centric is very important in these times. And I think at Champion we have always been very client centric, so we've always been actively engaged and listening to our clients across all the phases of how our business has developed in the last 3 decades or so. So yeah, being client centric is the key right now, and of course in the future, but right now it's very, very important. And just a little thought that I had for our industry is, let's try to focus on the 4 C's, which I just made up right now. So the first C is connect. So we all connect together, right? We communicate as much as we can. We collaborate on any opportunities or any projects that we possibly can, using each other's areas of expertise, like whatever Biju mentioned, whatever Nita mentioned, and anyone else within the industry who wants to come forward and collaborate on any opportunities. And we create value for the industry, so not just for the client but for all the stakeholders. So connect, communicate, collaborate, and create. That's something I just made up right now, and I think it's something that we would like to do moving onwards with this whole inaugural session of SGI Pulse, to keep our industry together. This stuff is happening in other industries like real estate and finance and banking and whatnot. But I think this gap that you guys have tried to fill today, I think it was much needed. And especially in this time, it would be amazing for voluntarily whoever would like to share their thoughts and expertise for the wider audience. It would be amazing.
Wonderful, thank you. Shoaib, that was so nice to hear about the 4 C's. Connect, collaborate, communicate.
Connect, communicate, collaborate, and create. And there's a 5th C, but I can't really say that because that's Champion, right? So
wonderful. That's really
very good.
I'll use that for our clients. I can't use that here.
Okay. Look, gentlemen, thank you, and also Nita, thank you for joining
Thank
us.
you very much. Thank
Above
you.
all, I think
you very much.
the audience has been so patient, and I'm sure it was very useful. Before I hand over to Ashish, I just want to give us final takeaway, noted down these points, what we discussed this evening very quickly. Let me run through. We spoke about this disruption to direction in the GCC signage industry. We spoke about market, which is remaining fundamentally strong despite the disruption. We heard it from the panelists, and disruption is immediate. We saw that, but it's not unfamiliar for us, and we've been resilient as a country, as a region, and we have come out of that, and surely we'll come out of that. And third, shift from reactive to resilient operations. We saw that with a champion, and also with Ride concept, and also with Rhine, Blue Rhine. All three of them have been resilient to this, and they have shown the way. And for all the others who are listening, also, I'm sure that that's a good lesson. And fourth one, we saw also what the cost pressures are rising, but largely it's been absorbed by these service providers that we heard from them. Okay, and business models are becoming more flexible, that we also heard, and localization is a very important point that we saw. It's becoming more strategic. And finally, we also saw about the demand outlook. It's becoming more cautious, but it's positive. That's very important. Last but not least, the sustainability side that we saw, it's a temporary secondary option as we speak right now, because the costs are going high. But I think once things settle down, it's going to come back. So as a bottom line, I think the industry is moving through a structural reset. We all can agree on that, where resilience and localization and operational agility are becoming more critical. And companies that are more balanced in terms of cost control. We heard about the ERP solutions and a new digitalized platform that can be created, supply chain flexibility and client commitment. When we are able to put this and close the loop, we can really navigate this disruption that we have gone through, and we all can keep our head above water and be more in the green. Not just be in the green, I think we can all be more positive in the midst of this kind of a challenging time. I'm sure that not just these three converters, all the others who are listening, you all can take these wonderful lessons, and I think we can start implementing this. And SGI MENA is coming up, and I think by the time the event is coming up, we all will be well positioned to grow from where we are now. Over to you, Ashish.
Thanks, man. Thank you so much, guys. All of you, thank you so much for being a part of the session. This is such a thought-provoking session. Such an engaging session as well. And I think more importantly, there was certain key takeaways that I want to talk about is how you guys mentioned that with the current situation, it's not been political, and that's very important. How we all believe that we are all Emirati after all, that's something that's very the biggest takeaway. Also, is if our industry wins, everyone wins. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me in terms of SGI MENA, what we need to focus on moving ahead as well. So by saying that, by concluding again, I just want to let everyone know, the people that are viewing this session online, our show is taking place from the 26th to the 20th of October at the World Trade Center. Again, this is our rebrand, our reboot. We're going to make things a lot more better. That's why we have these sessions happening every month. So can't wait for you guys to come back next month for a new topic, and see you guys then. Thank you so much, everyone. Ben, thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Nita.
Thank you for having us.